experiences to get some lessons from him since we are trying to develop our dairy industry for the last couple of decades. But I think, and everybody knows that without meat industry, I think the sustainability of dairy industry is not that much possible. So therefore, I think we also should now consider and think about a meat industry for the sustainability of the dairy as well as income and to uh, structure this meat industry because the prevailing regulations and other some cultural and religious barriers, of course, we have to go beyond those limits and develop a better regulation for this industry and do it in a proper way where these well-developed countries are doing. Because without animal protein, actually, we cannot think about the nutrition fulfillment of the nation and even not only as a country but as a world. It is must now. It has been a must, the animal protein for the uh, nutrition of the people. So therefore, meat industry one of the leading and one of the must industry which we are concerning on when we are concerning on livestock development. So therefore, we thought to have a session like this to get some experience from our veterinarians living in abroad to get their experiences, lessons, and advices, and to adapt our industries uh, for a better development of the country and for the contribution, better contribution for the GDP. So therefore, we warmly welcome Dr. Chamath Perera. Thank you very much, Dr. Chamath. Still, you are in early morning, though with the very critical temperature, you are joining with us. And therefore, uh, we greatly appreciate your contribution and commitment for this session. And I invite Professor Susiji to do a brief introduction about Dr. Chamath Perera. Yes, Professor Susiji.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shan, President SLVA. So it is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for today's talk, Dr. Chamath Perera, who will be presenting on meat hygiene and food animal welfare, the Canadian perspective. So Dr. Chamath Perera holds a Bachelor of Veterinary Science degree and a Master of Philosophy degree from the University of Peradeniya, reflecting his strong academic background in veterinary science and research. Dr. Chamath began his career in public service in the Department of Animal Production and Health in Sri Lanka in 2000. Over the years, he gained extensive experience working in various locations across the country before immigrating to Canada in 2007. So after successfully obtaining the Canadian Certificate of Qualification, Dr. Chamath joined the public service as a veterinarian at the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Currently, he serves as the veterinarian in charge at the CFIA inspection site in Brooks, which is home to the second largest beef processing facility in Canada. So with a wealth of experience in meat hygiene, food safety, and animal welfare, Dr. Chamath Perera brings valuable insights into the Canadian food inspection system. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Chamath Perera to share his expertise with us today. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Susiji, and thank you very much, Sri Lanka Veterinary Association, for inviting me. I'm very happy to share my experience with you all. Can you all hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, right, yeah. So I will, as Dr. Ushan said, the temperatures are not that great minus 23 today, minus 23 outside. Yeah, let's see what we can talk about. So I'm just giving a heads up to the topics that I want to cover. First, I will give a brief introduction to Canada and its meat industry. Then I will move on to government regulation mechanism and role of CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Then I would discuss a little bit in detail of the meat hygiene operations, especially about beef, where I am currently working on. And also I have worked before on pork as well, in some pork plants. So I can brief a little bit on pork. Poultry, not much, but I will just give a brief of the industry. And then finally, I will discuss about food animal welfare standards at the farm level, during at transit sites, then at sorter facilities, and also during transport. So I will move on to Canada and its meat industry. In a nutshell, is that Canada has resources that can have a big impact on world food production, because the country has the second largest land mass in the world. So because of the abundance of land, agriculture is a very viable industry. And then on top of that, you might recall from social studies syllabus in Sri Lanka, probably in grade 7, we learned about world 5 greatest grasslands in the world: pampas, prairies, steppes, downs. So the prairie part, one part of prairies is in Canada, and that's where I live in. The prairie is marked there in um, green. That's the prairie. Sorry, yeah, that green stretch is prairie grassland. So it is very, very resourceful for especially cattle industry. And majority of cattle are reared in the prairie grassland in Canada. And then also, being an industrialized country, there's lots of capital for large-scale production. So most of the producers or farmers and the processors are all large-scale producers and processors, because of the ability to invest a lot in the industry. And if you look at the stats, the contribution to gross domestic production is approximately $30 billion. And then the export volume wise, it is for beef approximately 0.5 million metric tons. That is dollar-wise $4.5 billion, and it's the 7th largest income wise in the world for beef export. In the case of pork, approximately 1.4 million metric tons of exports, and then that has brought Canada $5 billion, and is the 4th largest exporter of pork. And in the case of poultry meat, approximately 0.15 million metric tons, bringing in $1 billion the last year. So it's fairly a big industry. And when you're considering pork, actually the majority of the production, even more than 60%, is exported because the production is quite large and excess. So I have just gone through the Canada and its meat industry. Then I will now move on to government regulation mechanisms and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. That's where I work. So government regulation mechanisms are in place in meat hygiene and animal welfare. And they are detailed under two main legislations, Safe Food for Canadian Regulation, SFCR, and Health of Animal Regulation, HAR. So Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or CFIA, is the main federal government body responsible for making sure related activities are carried out in compliance with these regs. So there are provincial food inspection authorities. So there are slaughter facilities under those provincial ones, but they are not allowed to export products outside Canada. So all the products that are going out of the country are actually regulated and are inspected by CFIA. Then CFIA operates in a little bit distinct fashion. It actually has lineage to two ministries. So mainly it's under Ministry of Health, then also under Ministry of Agriculture. The food part is under Ministry of Health mainly, but apart from food, there are other business lines, that is plant health and animal health. So those ones are related to agriculture. So the ministry in priority is Ministry of Health, and then the second hierarchy is Ministry of Agriculture. So these two are the two federal ministries that oversees CFIA operations. So several hundred veterinarians provide services in food and animal business lines of the agency, and some of the agriculture professionals work and provide services in the plant health side of the business line of the agency. And CFIA is actually the biggest public service employer for veterinarians in Canada. Then moving on to the next topic, meat hygiene operation, beef, pork, and poultry meat. So CFIA's role in meat hygiene in general is that, as in most of the countries, it's antemortem and postmortem inspections, which look at the pathological disease side of the operation, and then also monitoring operators' programs and processes for food safety compliance that will look at contamination side of the operations, where contamination from feces, ingesta, milk, and also in the case of cattle, some specified risk material, which I will come back in a second, like which related to bovine spongiform encephalopathy, some nervous tissue, neurological related tissues in the nervous system are considered a contaminated tissue for food for some markets of where they don't allow risk material to be included in their meat. So as a general, that is also considered a contaminant. So that is a major part of the operations that CFIA has a role in. On top of that, CFIA has a role in disease surveillance and monitoring through sampling processes in place in slaughter plant as well. So samplings are carried out for major diseases that Canada is recognized by World Organization of Animal Health as a disease-free country, and also some of the diseases that World Organization of Animal Health is considering Canada as a negligible risk country. So for those ones, vigorous sampling traceability program is in place, and soda plants have quite a big role providing enough samples for those programs. And also CFIA oversees the shipments and looking at all the compliances, labeling, boxing, and shipping container temperatures, and all those activities related to shipping are being carried out by CFIA, and through that verification, CFIA issues meat and animal product export certificates to various countries. The export market is so huge that products, either meat or animal origin products and byproducts, goes to more than 100 countries around the world. So in the case of beef, so that is where my main occupation is right now. I'm overseeing second largest beef slaughter facility in Canada. So the feedlot is a place, as you can see in the picture, is an area where beef animals are brought in like 3 months before slaughter and fed a grain diet. So these feedlots are huge areas of land in prairie provinces, we call it, that the areas where more grasslands are there, and still they will be brought to feedlot to provide a grain-based diet around 3 months before the planned slaughter period or date. And then key points in the beef production to export markets, BSE or bovine spongiform encephalopathy related specified risk material that I have briefed earlier is a very important thing to consider, and the removal of all specified risk material is required. So, specified risk material includes spinal cord, head, and also ganglia and all the tissues related to nervous tissue. Nervous system, sorry. So that is a major important distinct factor in beef industry than other meat industries is that Canada has obtained BSc negligible status about 3 years ago. Before that, Canada was recognized as a BSc controlled risk. So from 90s BSc high risk to BSc controlled risk to now BSc negligible risk, or because of vigorous testing and destruction, removal, and control programs that are in place for the disease. So there's big progress made by Canada to get to that point from a high-risk country a few decades ago. So as a part of that, the segregation of under 30-month-old animals beef from over 30-month-old animal beef is required by some of the importing countries. So basically what this means is that under 30 months are at minimal risk of any contamination from BSc related risk material. And so over 30-month animals are the ones who are more at risk of getting the disease and having risk material in their body. And those animals are also being processed with their specified risk material tissue removed. So because of that, the meat is considered not contaminated because of the removal of specified risk material. So there's a requirement that UTM or under 30-month beef and OTM beef to be segregated, because some of the countries only buy UTM. So with the BSc, especially the traceability process has been developed to cover a very precise identification and traceability mechanism to be used for any disease situation. So there's a unique cattle ID for each cattle, and that is, I don't know whether this one is clear enough. There's a ear tag that has a machine readable tag with details not only of identification but of birth as well. So age and then the unique ID number both are readable from that ear ID, and it is a standard followed also by USA as well. So the USA cattle ID number starts with 840 going on for up to 50 numbers, and Canada's ID number starts with 124 and leading up to 50 numbers. So we can identify from just from the first 3 digits whether it's Canadian origin or US origin. That is and then the importance of disease-free status is a very, very a significant in the sense market-wise. To export to certain countries, you have to have a disease-free status for some of the major diseases. TB, FMD are one of the two of the major ones. And so FMD is, of course, Canada is free from FMD. TB, and also it's considered as a foreign animal disease. TB was there, and now it's almost eradicated, and it's in the disease-free category for World Organization of Animal Health. But there's like once in every, say, 6, 7, 8 years time, sometimes you get a case or two here and there, but we have a very strict control measures to immediately attend to it, trace back through this a unique cattle ID, where it came from, and then all the reactors to testing are being destroyed, and then the other ones surrounding pens and areas are being monitored till no reactors are found in those areas. So it's been very strict control measures in place for major diseases that especially affect the meat industry, and that is one of a very important requirement for some of the meat importing markets in the world. Then talking about the unique cattle ID, it is referred to as CCIA because it's from the Canadian Cattle Identification Agency. That is a non-governmental agency set up with the government monitoring to follow and get all the industry stakeholders to follow this ID system. So basically, you can see on this left-hand side picture that there's this year ID. It has 50 numbers, and those numbers are machine readable. So a reader can, a reader can identify what the number is. So this 124 means it's from Canada. So this number system usually has a 15-digit. They have 15 digit in length, and the remarkable thing about it that it can be printed out as well into a special paper, and with that you can see whether it's under 30 months or over 30 months. UTM has been printed here, and those animals gender M for male, and the unique CCIA ID number is printed here. And so those and the birth date, everything can be printed into a paper, and those paper or the label can be applied onto the carcass, so that once the ear tag is taken out during the slaughter process, immediately a tag is applied with all this information, so that the identification continues till it is processed. And through the mechanism in place in processing, they have a traceback ability to see, although not from each individual animal, but meat from a lot. So a lot is considered like probably 100 or so animals that are going into one lot. Their beef is going into one lot, and so that lot can be traced back. So even from final product, they can trace back to the exact producer or the farm, because 100, a lot of 100 means it is within the same farm. So same from coming from same producer. So there's this ability to trace back and act on any disease response situation to trace back. So this Canadian livestock tracking system is where all the information is entered by different people. When the tag is produced first by the manufacturer, it has to be entered in the system. They have been it's been regulated that they have to enter those information. It's a mandatory requirement as their manufacturing license for the ear tag. And then first release of that product to wholesalers, and then intermediate people, and the final farm associations, and then to the producer. All that information is entered in the system, and then eventually to which animal, and then the animal's movement. When it is moved from one place to another, it has to be entered in the system with a proof scanned and attached of sale. So those records will pile up for each animal until it is slaughtered, where at the slaughter facility, that number is retired from the system, so that they can go through all this information if there's a traceability requirement. As I have shown here in this search box here, there you can type in the CCIA number, and you can get the whole description of all the events that happen from the production of that ear tag up to the slaughter of that animal. All the information are added and can be readily available for any tracing purpose. So CFI's role in beef operation is in the case of antemortem and postmortem. Antemortem, B.V.Sc is a very important one that is being looked at and monitored, and FMD, because it's a foreign animal disease. So any possibility of lesions related to FMD is considered an urgent situation, and the main foreign animal disease response plan that is in effect in all the federal regulated slaughter facilities will trigger the initial response as soon as a suspected animal of FMD is identified at any federal slaughter plant. Neurological signs for B.V.Sc is another important factor, and so the any animals with neurological signs will not enter the food chain, because they will be condemned at the antemortem, and head samples are sent for analysis for B.V.Sc testing, and that is recorded in the national B.V.Sc sampling system to monitor how how the incidence is, if there are any cases found, or otherwise can be monitored from those systems. And in the case of postmortem, TB is a very important disease that lesions that we look at, granulomatous lesions in major lymph nodes on head, mesenteric lymph nodes, hepatic lymph nodes, and also mediastinal lymph nodes, tracheobronchial lymph nodes are all being looked at closely for any TB-like lesion, granulomatous lesion, and as well as lesions similar to TB, like granulomatous lesions coming out of actinomycosis and actinobacillosis, which are relatively common, I would say, so that there's a possibility that some of these lesions we might not pay full attention. That's why it is included with the TB assessment, so that all the lesions, whether it might be actinomycosis, actinobacillosis, they are, if granulomatous, they are being sent to TB sampling program to verify whether any TB occurrence is there. So that is a very vigorous program. All the lesions are sent to, lymph nodes, lymph node lesions are sent to TB surveillance program. They call it granuloma submission program. And then also CFIA has the verification process to monitor standard operation procedures and productions for food safety compliance. In this part, apart from the pathological and disease side of the things, I mentioned in antemortem and postmortem, this is the contamination side of the things, where SRM, the specified risk material for BSc, and then fecal, ingesta, milk contamination is observed and monitored, and the operators, processes are closely monitored, audited, and verified. So that is the non-pathological but very important side of inspection that is under the purview of CFIA. Then, as I mentioned earlier, sampling programs, TB surveillance, and also antimicrobial residues, then heavy metals and foodborne pathogens like E. coli 0157, then ETC, all those foodborne pathogens are being closely monitored. Foodborne pathogens, actually the operator or the slaughter plant has to have their own process to check from each lot. But apart from that, CFIA does random testing and match with those testings of the operator. So this operator, when I refer to operator, that is this slaughter plant owners. So the slaughter plants are not government owned. They are private entities where government is provided a space to work, office area, and also access to all the operation activities. So we go there into their building, stay in an office when we need to do some office work, and then access to all, we have access to all the areas to verify their processes and to do any audits. So there's no government-owned slaughter plants. It's all private meat processing companies. They do, most of the companies have both the slaughter and then collection of viscera and carcasses. They call it harvesting. So slaughter, harvesting, and then they call the processing side fabrication. So slaughter, harvesting, and fabrication are all in one operation in most of the slaughter plants. So issue of meat and animal product export certificates after verifying their product labels, boxes to the standard required, and also trailers, cleanliness, their temperatures, all are being monitored by CFIA, and then a certificate is issued once everything is in compliance. And in the case of beef, Canada sent products to nearly 70 countries around the world. I will just go through the processes of a beef establishment, like as an outline. So the main activities, at the start of the day, this pre-operational inspection, where before any process starts, the facility has to have a clean place to start any activity. So after end of previous day's work, there is a complete shift of cleaning, and the very next day, the first process is to do the pre-operational inspection. So prior to operation, every day begins with a thorough visual inspection to assure clean food manufacturing environment. So if this fails, if CFIA inspector finds that cleaning has not happened as it should be, then the operation will not be allowed to start till everything is cleaned and brought to the required sanitary levels. And then on the live cattle receiving side, plant sorts incoming cattle. The sorting is important, as UTM, OTM is a very important factor. So under 30-month animals are not slaughtered with over 30-month animals. Over 30-month or OTM animals are slaughtered after a gap at the end of the day. Whereas after OTM, no UTM animals are slaughtered. So they go into the harvesting and fabrication in a separate, distinct time frames, that they don't mix with each other. So live cattle receiving, on the left-hand side, you can see some trailers parked in, and then the animals are released from the trailers and they walk along to a scale, and then weights are taken, and then they are again moved to different pens that are numbered according to their OTM, UTM status. They will be in different areas. So this is where we do antemortem inspection. So after antemortem inspection, stunning and bleeding, so a suspension stunning equipment is used. A high-speed pin goes in and out and comes out without leaving a foreign material inside head. So the stunning equipment will not leave any particles inside the head. So in the case of some of the stunning guns, a bullet or a piece of metal will stay inside head, and that is not allowed in this operations in Canada. So they have to use high-speed pin that will not stay in the body but will come out, but that has enough force to stun the animal. And it is kept suspended so that nobody has to suspend it into the ceiling, so that nobody has to lift it because it's a little bit heavy equipment, but then it is suspended so the handler can easily handle it to point it to the exact location of the head. Once done, the carcass is connected to the hanging rail line. Bleeding happens while on hanging rail. So the hide removal is a very important part that is observed very closely by CFIA, because that is where the the meat edible part can get contaminated from outside skin. So that part is closely monitored. So in the operation, they have to put paper towel or wax paper on the brisket hide to create a physical barrier, preventing contact with exposed carcass tissue. And then bagging the tail creates a physical barrier that prevents contact with exposed carcass tissue. So those two will prevent any contaminant from getting into the meat, because contamination is a major part, as same as pathology for beef production when it comes to export markets. Then the hide is removed through a mechanical hide assist, that is a mechanized machine, high power machine that is utilized to pull the hide so that it is not handled or get contact with the exposed carcass tissue, which is an edible part. So basically this will pull the skin out of the carcass like we take off a shirt. Like it comes out without touching any part of the edible area, and so that the skin outside will not touch the carcass edible parts. So that will prevent contamination as well. Then after that, a pre-evisceration carcass spray is sprayed. This is a thermal processing aid used to reduce microbiological levels, so that any possibility of minor microbiological contamination can be minimized through this spraying. And then the evisceration occurs. The employees who carry out this evisceration process, they need to wear special boots to prevent contamination of the table surface, because they are basically on the table. So at the table level, and then once the product eviscerated material goes down, it is falling onto the table. So that is where the line goes, with that table being moved as a roller all the way to the end till all the inspections and harvesting is done. So this eviscerated viscera, the viscera drops onto a table belt and move along the line together with the related carcasses. So they have to have an identification in place so that carcass and viscera travel together in the line. Although they are in different lines, they travel together at a line and together, so that inspectors, when they check, they can check the carcass and viscera at the same time. They can relate one to the other. Since this surface get contact with the viscera, which are harvested for some markets, so the table surface is continuously sterilized with 180 Fahrenheit water. After the harvesting of viscera, then a final carcass wash is performed on the carcass. So that is the final process in the harvesting area. Then the carcass after the wash moves to the cooler, where by that time the harvesting is done and all the antemortem, postmortem is done. So whatever comes through final carcass wash are the certified postmortem passed carcasses. So this final carcass wash greatly reduce the E. coli 0157. So that is a very important step in achieving low microbial counts. And then the carcasses go into a cooler where they are the wash carcasses go a drastic temperature change. It gets chilled to less than 7 degrees within 24 hours of slaughter. So it's a very what we call vigorous process because there are so many carcasses per day. The facility I am overseeing, they produce 4,200 carcasses per day. So imagine 4,200 carcasses per day. The line, the slaughter speed, they call it, is 300 animals per hour. So that much of a production happens. So these coolers are massive coolers because they have to hold so many carcasses. 40, most of the days it's 4,300, around that number for the day. So 2 shifts, 1 shift around 2,100, 2,200. And in the case of UTM, the younger ones, it goes a little bit faster because less pathology. And in the case of cows and especially older cows that are culled, the pathology is more that it needs more time. So the line speed is a little bit lesser. So the morning shift, they slaughter around 2,300, close to that, and then about 2,000 or 2,100 for the second shift. So yeah, that's a massive production per day. And then once it's released from cooler, the next day it will go to the processing area, which they refer to as fabrication area. So that is where these carcasses are cut into different cuts and are then packed into different markets according and then labeled after the processing in the shipping area. So from antemortem, like cattle receiving, they go through the harvesting area, then they go to the fabrication area, what is shown here in the picture, and then finally goes into the shipping area. So the processing area is a controlled temperature environment. So people wear 2 or 3 layers of clothing because it's a chilly environment. And then finally, when it gets into the storage area, again, as per export country requirements, finished products of UTM and OTM are stored separately with different product codes and labels added, and they can be distinguished from each other. So that is a very important requirement when exporting to some of the markets in the world. Then that's basically the operation process in beef. So that process is almost similar to, except for the SRM BSc part, most of the other processes are similar in other species as well. All of them are massive processing facilities. In the case of pork, I have worked before in a pork slaughter facility overseeing a production of roughly 9,000 pigs per day. That's the production capacity of that slaughter facility. But also I have visited, but I haven't worked, but I have visited one that is considered the largest in Canada, that has the capacity of 13,000 pigs per day. So that is, so these facilities are very, very big and very high intensive operations. So the production, slaughtering, everything is very very managed in a very efficient way to get that output. As you can see, large whites are the most predominant breed. In the case of beef, it's mainly Angus. Angus is a very popular beef breed here. And then in the case of pork, it is large white and some of the Berkshire as well, but not in huge amounts compared to large white, and then Duroc are also there. Then in the case of pork, CFIA's role, again, to the pathology side of the things, is the antemortem inspection for especially ASF considered a foreign animal disease. So any suspected animal will trigger a foreign animal disease response. And as FMD also considered foreign animal disease, so it will trigger foreign animal disease response. So every plant has to have a foreign animal disease contingency plan. If something happens, what to do is already written, and people are trained, and a responsible person is or a team is designated for foreign animal diseases. So there's a contingency plan from the slaughter plant, the private company, as well as there's a contingency plan from the CFIA, the government side of it. So the two contingency plans are reviewed every year, and to make sure that those align to each other well, so that the processes, if any change done by one side, that has to be discussed and agreed by the other side as well, to have a smooth program, because two sides will be doing little bit different things for this, for the contingency plan, but it is part of the overall disease control plan. So that's why it is important that this plan is updated and the supplies are updated every year, so that if there are expired material, utensil, collect universal transport medium, if anything is expired, then they will be identified in the annual audit. So that contingency plan is there for all the slaughter plants, from both the CFIA side and the slaughter plant side. So people exactly know what to do in the case of suspected foreign animal disease. And in the postmortem, pigs, erysipelas is a disease of concern. We find some erysipelas, diamond skin disease, they call it. So that is also somewhat prevalent in pork farms. Then also the contamination side of it, it is not as vigorous as beef, because SRM for BSc is not a thing for pork, but still the other contamination is a very important aspect that CFIA is following. So on the non-pathological side of the things are being monitored through operators' standard operation procedures, and production activities are being audited and then verified, and there are random checks as and external audits as well from other areas that goes in line with the mandate of the CFIA to have the contamination at minimum level to make sure that the product is safe. So sampling programs are they are in place as well in pork facilities, and antimicrobial residues are a very important part of that those sampling programs, and then also residues, other chemical residues are also monitored. And then meat and animal product, once they are ready to be shipped, the shipment, the boxes, the labels, trailers for cleanliness and temperature control are being monitored. And then the certificates are issued. In the case of pork, Canada exports to around 90 countries in the world, around the world. And then when it comes to poultry meat, especially chicken and turkey are the most popular species, and also some operations, although they are not very big commercial operations, there are ostrich and some other small plants that produce different poultry meats, but the bigger ones are the turkey and chicken slaughter facilities. So CFI roles again is antemortem. In this case, high-path AI is a big concern. So currently, Canada is going through its 6th wave of HPAI. So very important in antemortem, and also traceability is in place, and some of the areas are at this moment as well being identified as infected premises by CFIA and being quarantined at this moment as well. Although it's not in all of the country, that areas are being identified as infected premises and are being contained and being observed at this moment as well. And then postmortem inspection as well. Cellulitis to polyserositis, ascites, all those pathologies are there, but not any significant disease apart from HPAI is identified at the moment. So that is the pathological side, and then the contamination and food safety side of things of non-pathological origin. Then monitoring, verifying the operators' standard operation procedures, production activities for food safety compliance. All the contaminants, non-pathological, are being monitored, and that is a major role of CFIA, pathological and non-pathological aspects of food safety. So sampling programs are also carried out. Antimicrobial residues are being observed, monitored. And then issue of meat and animal products export roughly goes to 20 countries around the world from Canada. And so we have finished the meat hygiene operation part. Then we get into the our main last but not the least important aspect of welfare, where food animal welfare standards at farms, transit sites, slaughter facilities, and transport, how it all works in Canada. Let's see in detail. So activities are regulated under health of animal regulations. So the main one is feed water rest, they call FWR. FWR is a very, very important and more closely monitored activity in Canada because of the long distances that the trailers take animals from production site to sometimes to a transit site to the slaughter facility. We are looking at say sometimes 1,000 kilometers plus. So because of those distances, there are measures in place that they have to follow with regards to food, water, and rest, especially during transport. And then space requirement is very important during transport as well as in the sort facilities before slaughter in their lairage, and then also at the farm, of course. Loading, transport, and unloading of animals has to be accompanied by a document called transfer of care, TOC. So the TOC, what TOC means is that the producer, as at, at the time the animals are released to a new buyer or to an auction mart or to a transport company, they have to write time and place and release the animals out of his the farmer's care to the transport company or the driver. So the driver signs in next in the transfer of care, and from that particular time and date, that driver and the truck company is responsible for the care of those animals. How long it travels, everything is calculated from that time that that is entered at on the transfer of care document, TOC. So TOC is a very good trace where food, water, and rest, FWR, can be monitored so that the person who is now taking care at a particular moment of the travel from production site to the slaughter facility, the responsibility of FWR is on the person who is actively taken care by signing that document. So whenever there's an issue, there is a responsible person. There's every person involved in this chain of transportation, handling, are accountable through this transfer of care, and enforcement actions are taken if any person at any point violates the FWR requirements as well as space and other requirements. But FWR is a very critical factor, and those records have to be entered in the TOC by the person who is providing FWR, because If not, if that person does not document in TOC, that means it legally did not happen. So then they are responsible and will get violatory ticket or license cancellation or whatever the enforcement actions will be taken on them. So space, then TOC, then human handling. There are lots of training material distributed to trucking companies, truck drivers. Farmers, of course, are quite aware, but truck drivers and some of the handlers at slaughter plants have to be, upgraded and updated with new material as well as current materials to refresh their understanding of animal welfare. So human handling, then at the slaughter plant, of course, there's the human slaughter. So the stunning process and breeding process are being monitored closely. If an animal does not get stunned by first attempt, then it is notified and there will be some consequences. So this is very closely monitored activity, and it is required by some of the export markets, especially in the European Union and United Kingdom. Those markets require the humane handling and humane slaughter records. They need to be audited by their auditors frequently to allow any country to give access to European Union and British markets. So that part has to be very closely monitored. And at the farms, the welfare standards is a little bit different than slaughter facilities or transportation companies guidelines. So if we look at farms welfare standards, there is a document. I have this on the right side, is kind of a beef guideline, but there's a National Farm Animal Care Council guidelines. So they have the codes for good practices that they have to follow, and it is linked to the regulations. So the regulations refers to these guidelines because those guidelines and codes are actually were developed by the industry and the government together and agreed upon. So the industry and the producers alike have to follow those codes. So humane handling, feed water rest within the farm, and providing enough space, especially during night if they are housed in an enclosed environment. And then their registration covers a part of humane handling and all these welfare requirements. So their registration can be revoked if they are found to be non-compliant with the requirements of animal welfare standards that are being included in the National Farm Animal Care Council guidelines, codes, and are updated as soon as new issues are identified. So then most of the time the animals from farms goes to transit sites like auction mart where they are being competitively auctioned and sold to different buyers. So these auction marts have to keep the animals for a shorter period but still they are not off the hook. They also have guidelines to follow to be compliant with the welfare requirements of the country. So at transit site, again, National Farm Animal Care Council has guidelines for transit facilities and also humane handling, food, water, and rest at the transit facility has to be provided, and space requirement has to be met. And then those are licensed facilities, so their license can be revoked if they are found non-compliant. And then the people who are handling those animals in those facilities are being continuously trained on animal welfare standards. Then at the slaughter facilities, there are also standards to be followed. And I forgot to mention in the case of pork, once they are stunned, to stun the animal, the pork plants use carbon dioxide chambers. So it's within 1 to 2 seconds, the animal gets stunned. Usually the carbon dioxide chamber is below ground level. So the animal goes into one cage, like 5-6 animals together, because they are together. They don't make a loud noise as the way when they are separated. So these 5 or 6 animals goes together into one like a chamber. It looks like a pen, but once it's closed, it can go down and go to the ground level and again get closed in, and carbon dioxide air is released into that chamber, and within single breath or two, they are stunned, and then the chamber opens and animals come out stunned. So there's a monitoring system for the carbon dioxide pressure, and also how the animal's stunning level. That is also monitored by CFIA, so that no animal goes to bleeding area without being properly stunned. So that is welfare, humane handling task. One of the tasks that CFI does, frequent checkings on carbon dioxide pressure, and also the stun level of pigs. So at the slaughter facilities, then it becomes a food commodity and will come under SFCR, Safe Food for Canadian regulations as well, on top of health of animal regulations. So humane handling, again, is important. Feed, water, rest at the layer area, and space if staying overnight. And then they have this licensing as well. So any non-compliance and their license can be revoked. And then training of staff, especially the handlers, on welfare has to be done continuously, and CFIA has some routine task to oversee their training records, and every person has to be retrained after 6 months, so that they are in touch with the animal welfare standards required. So the other important aspect where welfare standards come in, in operation, is the transport of animals. So there are conveyors used, different types of conveyors. The top one is, they call it triaxle cattle hauler or conveyor that mostly used for cattle, about say 42, 43 roughly animals can go in one trailer. There are compartments inside. So in the one below that, you can see a truck driver cleaning the trailer after animals are released to the slaughter plant. So they have different compartments. They can close the doors. So this is very important because some of the animals may be not, I would say, not in best condition to transport. We call compromised animals. So they have to be kept separately. Male, female animals, especially older animals, have to be kept separately. And then any animal with compromised situation, some lameness or something, have to be kept in separate compartments so that they don't get trampled or they get into any, they don't fall into any suffering during transportation. So the one on the left side is a common pig transport conveyor. So they have the ability to close these side slats according to the requirement, because sometimes it gets really hot during summer. Then they can open few of these, because as you know, pigs are not very tolerant of heat, especially large whites, with the especially the ones here who are very very well accustomed to cold temperatures, but they are very susceptible to higher temperature issues, and there can be lots of deaths if these sites are not properly open. So that is a thing that at the antemortem CFIA looks at, because sometimes because of improper ventilation during summer, deaths can occur in the trailer. So cleaning is a very important part after each load, and then before leaving the facility, there is a special area to clean the trailers, and they have to, truck drivers have to clean the trailer and make it ready for the next person on, if he's the one who is hauling another batch or lot, then it has to be in clean status when it leaves the slaughter facility. So in the transport, again, National Farm Animal Care Council guidelines are there on top of Safe Food for Canadian regulations. So in these scenarios, the NFACC codes have specific numbers and charts for space requirement, so that if your animal weighs this much, then they can, with that chart, check how many animals can go into that particular type of trailer, so that the transport company can advise the driver of how many animals they should load in each compartment. Those are already known and identified according to different weights. There, the chart is there, the code is there. So none of the drivers or transport companies can say that they did not know, because it is there. It is available for all drivers and especially transport companies to update their drivers. So they should know how many animals go into each compartment, so that the space requirements are met, especially when the travel is long. And humane handling of animals, especially unfit and compromised animals, is a very important part. If unfit animals are transported where a leg is broken or something, or like squamous cell carcinoma, eye cancer, those are very painful conditions that animals should not go under during and suffer during transportation. So such conditions, if prevents the party that is loading the animal is directly responsible for checking that the animals they load are healthy and are not unfit, at least that the compromised animals can go in a week, or if there are aggressive animals, then they have to be in separate compartments. But those handling knowledge is very important, and they are being updated all the time by their employers, and it's a requirement because they operate under a license. So their license uh, will have a history of occurrence of any non-compliances. They go into their license will show a history of any non-compliance and details of it in a system. So once they are not in compliance, then they can lose license to transport animals. Then feed, water, rest is a very, very important part of the transport section, humane transportation, and TOC, transfer of care document, is a very important document to review, monitor, and in case of a violation, to take action against the responsible party. Animal welfare AW training for drivers is also a mandatory requirement. So when they transport animals, they have to have that training before they transport animals. No driver can say that they did not know, because that part is a mandatory requirement to haul animals. You cannot just get into a truck and transport animals commercially, I mean, because that requirement has to be met for you to transport animals commercially. So in the case of conveyors, as I showed in previous pictures, so there are several types of manufacturers. They are all mostly aluminum built and should not have sharp edges, and should have enough space, especially for colored dairy, Holstein Friesians. They are very tall, so they need compared to beef, so they need to be transported in higher roof compartments of the trailers. So there are trailers that have that type of compartment built inside. So any dairy type cattle have to be transported in those trailers, conveyors. So inside they have ramps from one, because they are in different height levels in the trailer, those compartments. So they have to have ramp. They are built with ramps that have a particular angle and particular friction level, so that animals do not fall or get scared to go from one compartment to the another. And also the ramp specs are very important when the animals are unloaded or loaded from or to the conveyor, because when getting, especially getting out at the slaughter plant, that is being closely monitored by CFIA. If the angle is too slopey, or it's too smooth and not rough enough, then there's a possibility of injuries because of the weight of the animal. And since so many animals coming out of the trailer and trying to get out of the trailer at the same time, that can push animals out of balance and can hurt them, can lead to lameness, broken legs, suffering. So those ones are closely monitored. The specs has to be met, or otherwise there will be non-compliant violation.
So Dr. Chamath, can I
Yes.
disturb you while?
Sorry,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah, here time is almost now 9:30. So we
Okay,
need
right.
more time for questions as well.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you
I'm in the last
quickly-
slide. I'm
Okay,
at the
yeah,
last
right,
slide.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, food animal welfare standards, CFI's role is training of people, awareness, like the one on the right hand side where it says these leaflets and notices are there everywhere where the animals are being handled, the animal operations occur, and then inspection and verification by CFIA, and if there's any violation, enforcement through warning, then a penalty or a cancellation of cancellation of registrations or licenses. Thank you very much for listening to me for such a long time. So yeah, I'm open to any questions.
Yeah, actually, it is very informative, Dr. Chamath. Thank you very much. We had a very good lessons and so many things to learn from your session. So now I invite Dr. Ijaz to moderate the discussion. Dr. Ijaz, I think you are here.
Yeah, thank you. Can I ask a question? I'm Chandrasiri. I'm Vimal Chandrasiri.
Oh, hi.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Dr. Chamath,
Yes.
thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I have few queries, but I will ask only just one. About the traceability. You said after removal of the hide, the viscera and the carcass are sent together, and now you mentioned about what the process of the fate of the carcasses, but viscera. Now, how do they maintain the traceability? Because what I heard is even in the supermarket you can trace out the when you get a feed sample, the meat sample, you can trace the animal and where it come from, like that. Now the viscera also I think will be inspected. And how do you relate the findings in the viscera and the carcass, because the carcass is different, going completely different direction, and you did not mention anything about that part. If you can elaborate a little bit on the traceability they adopt in Canada. Thank you very much.
Sure. Yeah, good question. Yeah, so in the case of viscera, they have a lot. So they are marking lots for each, like say 100 or so. They have a lot. So they already identified lots at the receiving time that these animals go in one lot, which the lot means usually from same location, coming from same farm location. So that lot is given a separate lot number, and that lot is identified together. So the viscera will not be identified after it is harvested. It will not have any tag. Then it is the time frame that they have a record saying from say 9:30 to 10 o'clock, we have this lot been harvested. And so that lot is identified in their records, so that if there's any traceability follow-up, then they can go to that particular lot. Thank you. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah. Sorry. I have some technical issue.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Any questions from participants? If you have any
Yes,
questions,
I think
you can ask.
Dr. Chamath, you want to ask a question?
Thank you very much, Dr. Chamath, for your very informative presentation. This is timely needed topic because, as you know, we are exploring new opportunities to export our meat products at this moment. So your presentation gave us very good insight about how Canada do their slaughter process and how this process is going on. So I have one question, Doctor. You, as you said the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they are the ones who are regulating this export process, and the private sector is doing maintaining the slaughterhouses. So I just want to know whether there is a permanently stationed officer is working in those private slaughterhouses, or are they regularly visiting those places? And other thing, that is my first question. And other one is, are those officers are always veterinarians, or any other degree holders are doing the same work? Those are my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tamil, for the questions.
Excuse me, Dr. Chamath. I am Dr. Ijaz. In fact, I had some technical issues. I am the moderator. Thank you very much. And just after answering Chamari's question, please hand over to me for moderation. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Regarding stationary officers, yes, in the federal establishments, they call it.
I think we lost the connection with Dr. Chamath.
We'll wait. He will get connected.
Yeah. Can Professor Susiji call and see if you have any contacts?
Yeah, I am calling right now. Yeah, Chamath. What is happening? You are logging in again, joining?
Dr. Ijaz?
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So he will join soon.
Okay.
I call to him.
Until he joins, so we are also actually compared to Canadian situation, we are also not that bad, because we have the anti-mortem systems established, and even the new regulations on the Animals Act about the animal transport, taking into consideration of the animal welfare side, loading, unloading facilities, and the space and everything. But the problem is, we are not implementing any of those things. So that is my concern.
Dr. Chamath, have you joined again?
He will join very soon. I talked to him. Yes.
Yeah.
until he joins, we can go on. We can carry on.
Yes, I can give some comment on it. Actually, the systems in Sri Lanka is quite different from the Canadian perspective, because our legal enactments are disintegrated, that there is no single authority that governs the food safety aspect. We can't compare the Canadian system with the Sri Lankan system, where I understand the Canadian Food Safety Inspection Agency is a federal agency, that they have a uniform system that regulate the food safety. So whereas in Sri Lanka, there is no uniform system or any organization that governs that particular area. I think I can't agree with Dr. Chandrasiri that we are similar to Canadian system. So that we have to.
I didn't mention that. I think compared to Canadian system, we are also in some situation. That's all.
No, it's we are in very infant stages when we compare the Canadian scientific standards. Again, I will hand over to Dr. Chamath. Can you hear me, please? Are you with us? I can see your video. Can't you hear? I understand.
I think.
Yeah, I can see his videos, but no audio. Can you hear me, Dr. Chamath?
Yes, not yet connected.
I can see his videos.
But connecting to audio, it is the message we see.
Dr. Susiji, can you just call him and say that there is an audio?
Okay, now I think I got it. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I will continue with my answer then, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So the officers are stationed in the facility permanently, but since it's a government staff, they can be transferred to other places. So if there's a requirement at other stations, they will move, but permanently, they in Canada, they call substantial position is there for that plant itself. So in the case of the plant I monitor, there are close to 20 staff that oversee all the production in 2 shifts, and they are stationed in that facility. The company provides an office space and other access to if there are any security points. They have provided an ID and access to all the CFIA government staff to do their inspections and auditing. So all that people are permanently stationed there. And then the other question is that about this education level of the staff. So there are vets mainly in the decision-making process, as well as there are other graduates that does the contamination part of it, which does not require a vet, but pathological part, yes, vets have to do it. It has to be under veterinary supervision, and the disposition is only decided by vets. But contamination part of it, either through SRM or fecal ingesta, milk, any other contamination or other requirements like building maintenance, flow, and all that non-pathological ones, those inspectors can do the task without being a veterinarian involving in those tasks. So there are high mainly graduates, science graduates that are carrying out the inspection activities that are not related to dispositions of pathological lesions or any other decisions related to these diseases. But yes, there are other stuff as well. Which in the case of the plant I work, there are 4 veterinarians that I oversee. So with me, there are 5 vets, and then the other 15 are non-vets.
Thank you, Dr. Chamath. And there are a few questions that I think with my query that I will get into those questions. I understand your agency comes under the Health Ministry.
Yes. Priority is health, then the agriculture. Yeah.
Yes, that there is a question. The CFA is under the purview of both Health Ministry and Agriculture. That also, I think, certain part of the activities policies are made by Agriculture Ministry. Is that correct?
Correct.
Then there's another question: who monitors the compliance of animal welfare standards at farm level? So I think the policies are made by the Agriculture Ministry. Am I right?
Right. Correct. Yeah.
Right. So that the compliance is checked by the Canadian Food Safety Agency.
Correct.
Correct. I think Dr. Daniel, I think Dr. Chamath gave a good answer for your question. Then Kamalika is also got that particular same answer. Right. That for other information for others, I think there are certain other agencies. They also, make policies for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency.
Right.
Am I right?
Correct. There are council, meat councils. There are councils and also farm animal care council. Those all councils are not directly government ones, but they are industry related organizations that join hands together and work for the same cause. So they discuss all the changes, policy changes together and come to a conclusion when there's a policy change required. And CFIA will monitor the farms, not through the meat hygiene program staff, but through the animal health program staff. Those staff go to farms, visit farms, do their antimicrobial drug usage audits, and also some samples for some surveillances like what we do in BV.Sc centers. So those ones, when they do, they also look at animal welfare and other issues related to animal handling. But they, of course, they won't be 24/7% in the farm. So that is not possible, but they will have some audit. And also there's an organization called SPCA, that is a non-governmental organization that has that receives complaint from anybody who has observed any wrongdoing at farm levels. They complain, and then SPCA has the obligation to act on it. They are a powerful non-governmental organization.
So it's same as RSPA in UK.
Correct.
Royal Society, right? So
Correct.
then, according to your explanation, now for to clarify, Canadian Food Safety Inspection Agency as to from the veterinary perspective, there are 2 components. What I understand. So one is food safety aspect, and the other part is the animal production aspect. Right. Am I right?
Correct.
Am I right?
Correct. Correct.
So animal production aspect looked after by another unit, another division. The food safety aspect is monitored by the another division. Is that correct?
Division, but under the same agency. So
Same
CFIA means Canadian Food Inspection Agency, but the food includes food, plant health, and animal health.
And production also comes under that agency.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
because of the food.
I think that is the concept that we want, actually. That the particular question I asked. So that we are doing the production aspect from the DAPH, and the inspection part comes under the food authority of the Ministry of Health. So that is the area that we should amalgamate. I think that I am raising these questions that we need a drastic, overall of our system. That where the veterinarian looks after both. So I think there are so many discussions going on, but nothing fruitful outcome is coming out. That I made this observation because of to aware our colleagues that we should, for an example, that animal production and health part as well, food inspection part also should come under the DAPH for others information. For an example, in European countries, that Danish Food Inspection Agency, Agriculture Ministry, but still they look after the food safety as well as the production. Even in the Norway is the same. I have another question.
US is same.
US also same. For I have another question from you. The implementation part in Canada, does the local authority plays a major role?
Implementation of
food safety aspects.
Yes. So the local authority also has a part in the sense they do the provincially regulated slaughter plants. They are smaller plants. They are not as big as federally registered plants. They do slaughter in a smaller scale, and they can only send products within that jurisdictions, within that actually not only local like city or country, but also that province. It is allowed up to the province borders, but they cannot go beyond any province border. Then it will come under federal.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Chamath. Another eye-opener from that point, that your agency is a federal agency that basically governs the food safety aspects to the entire Canada and the export market.
Correct.
Is that correct? So when it comes to the local authority and the provincial setup, they look after the food safety aspect for that particular locality.
Correct.
Good system, but I think we have to learn a lot from that Canadian system as well as other countries. Any questions from the audience? And there's another question from Dr. Pushan. Vaccines used for beef, cattle, and the swine.
So so vaccines are used, but for like disease-free, to maintain disease-free status, there are no vaccines used for those diseases, because then you will not be able to have that eradication program going. So some of the vaccines, I'm not directly involved in animal health part, but there are some vaccines used, but the vaccination as a whole is not that rigorous, because they try mostly to keep the disease-free status for most of the important diseases. Eradication and complete destruction of affected reactors and animals, and then to keep the disease-free status is where they are aiming for. That is very important for export markets. But there are some vaccination, but actually I was not involved in the animal health section in the CFIA, so I am actually unable to give the exact answers which vaccines are being used in those herds. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chamath. Again, we are going to, can I ask another question about animal welfare during the slaughter? That you mentioned the carbon dioxide is the stunning method for the pork.
Yeah.
So I was a bit interrupted during the cattle section. What is the slaughter methods for the cattle, stunning methods for the cattle, captive bolt gun?
So it is, it's kind of a captive bolt gun, but there's no part or even material can stay in the head, like all the stuff that goes in comes out. So the rod-like material that cannot leave any particles inside, and no air-based stunning methods can be used for some export markets. They don't allow. So because of that, the equipment has a rod that goes at a high velocity into the animal's head and comes back very quickly, and within that time the animal gets stunned and no particle stays inside the head.
Is it a penetrative stunning method or non-penetrative?
Yeah, it's a penetrating. Yeah, yeah.
It's a penetrative. That's
yeah.
How about the sheep and goat?
Sheep and goat, I haven't been into any of those plants. They are very, compared to beef and pork, they are a minor industry here because I mean the scale is way different. Beef and pork, somewhat poultry as well, but the other meat species are not that important contributor to the meat industry here. So I don't think we might have very few very few federally monitored goat sheep plants, maybe like less than 5 or so.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chamath. Any questions from the
I think
audience?
Dr. Arunambagala is raising his hand.
Yeah, Dr. Ambagala.
Thank you, Jas. Thanks, Chamath. It was a nice presentation. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. No, I think I just wanted to just bring up the provincial slaughterhouses so that they can have a little bit of understanding, and Ijaz brought it up, so I think that was good. I think they used and I'm sure, Chamath, I think they used the electricity, right? Some use the high voltage electricity to stun the they use I have seen that especially for pigs I have seen that they're using in addition to the captive ball guns. They do use captive ball guns in the pig industry in the provincial level, because federal level, because the numbers are so high that's going through, they don't use those. I think I have seen using electricity for stunning as well in small scale. So in Sri Lanka, probably, I mean, those are other options that can be used for small scale.
Thank you very much. There's another question from Dr. Priyamvada. Stunning method used in poultry, if followed. Do they stun poultry?
I haven't worked in any of the poultry facilities, so I'm actually not 100% sure how the process in detail, so I'm unable to answer that, sorry.
Right. There's another question. I can't see the name. They only identify as Dell Computer. I don't know. Can someone introduce yourself?
Sorry?
Sorry?
That's Dr. Chandrasiri, I think.
Right,
What is the question you are referring? I have.
To me, the beef fried is the most unhygienic food item.
That is me.
Right. So the comment is, to me, the beef industry is the most unhygienic food item in Sri Lanka. Agree. Although we have basic provisions in our acts and regulations, we are not following any of those. Agree. What will be our future plans? I think the good person to be here is the DG. DG is around. Yes, I think what I understand is
DG is in this group.
If she is present, I can say, but I didn't see a name. But I can give you a very short answer. There is a very good move with this current government, that there is lots of advocacies taking place that we should improve the veterinary public health sector. That in fact I was asked to and draft, the proposal during this weekend that I have to work on it. And in fact, Dr. Nima Jayavir also gave some inputs that is regarding the rabies control. The understanding is that we should have a proposals covering the entire veterinary public health, not only the rabies. That I am working on it. That I will prepare proposals to be submitted to the health minister, not to the agriculture minister. That it's a good move that he will understand the, he should ask all the PHI, public health inspectors, to give up the meat inspection, and at the meantime that our veterinarians should take the responsibility to do the meat inspection. I think as I can see, Dr. Chatura's and another questions from Priyamvada, are all slaughterhouses in the same standards, or are they graded according to their own levels?
So,
Dr. Chamath.
Yes. So they are not in the same standard in the sense because of the variation in production levels. There are different categories, you can say, that are one category is the high producing, highly commercialized plants versus slow moving, low production plants. But there are still standards set forth that they have to follow. But these bigger plants actually go even beyond that, because they are in a competitive market. They actually advertise for even greater standards, and so they want to follow those. Whereas some of the smaller plants, they will follow the basic standard requirements still, but they might not be as higher standard as the other high producing plants, but it is not a legal requirement. They still are in compliance with the standard requirements. The flows, any degrading material in the structure, everything is monitored by the agency. So there are tasks called building maintenance task, contamination task, and then the outside premises task. So all these will capture different aspects of maintenance and quality standards. Water quality tasks. So yeah, when all these are combined, the standards are there for smaller ones as larger ones as well, but higher producing ones most of the time exceed some of these standards, and they perform a little bit at higher technology as well for some things. Like I remember one pork plant has a carcass splitter with a robotic water jet, so that it instead of metal cutting through the carcass into two, it's the water that cuts it into two. It's a robotic. So then there's no chance of any steel particles even getting into the meat. So that's how they have developed. It's not the standard requirement, but they go beyond that because of their ability to invest and their ability to promote it in such a way. So they go for higher technology. They are way ahead than some of the others.
Thank you, Dr. Chamath. I think we are at 22:10, that 10:10. I think there's no other questions that I would like to thank you. And I would like to hand over to Dr. Chatura, Secretary of the SLVA, to give away the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jas. So it was a very clear and informative presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Chamath Perera, for accepting our invitation to deliver the presentation on the meat hygiene and food animal welfare with your experience. So I know it's difficult because of the time difference and all. So on behalf of the SLVA, so we would like to thank you. And also we had a very good participation today, more than 50 plus. And so I would like to thank all the participants and also Professor Susuji, who coordinated the event from the SLVA end. So thank you, Professor Susuji, for coordinating and getting done the presentation very well. And also Dr. Jas for moderating. And also our President, 77th Executive Committee, Dr. Ushan Pallegama, and all the EXCO members who supported and also present and also asked some questions. So thank you very much all. And for those who are in Sri Lanka, have a good night. And for Dr. Chamath and Dr. Ambagala, have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you, Dr. Chamath.
Thank you, Chamath. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Dr.
I will
Ambagala-
talk to you later.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
sure.
Dr.
Yeah.
Ambagala here still?
I think he was here, maybe just left.
Left, no? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was just
left.
wondering to have some session with Dr. Ambagala regarding the, especially regarding swine and the animal health.
Fine.
I think maybe Chamath can coordinate, no? Can you get
I will talk to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
මට පොඩ්ඩක්
Yeah.
contact කරලා දෙනවද Professor Dr. Chamath?
Sure.
Dr. Jas,
sure.
batchmate. Ne?
Dr. Jas, the batchmate.
I will coordinate, don't worry.
Yeah, he will
Oh, right.
coordinate the last event also.
Yeah.
කතා කරන්න
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much.
Bye.
You, Chamath.
Bye.
Thank you, Chamath,
Bye.
again.
Okay, see you.
Okay, yeah, welcome.
Nice
Bye.
day. Okay.
Bye.